What do you do when you want to make a change, but it feels like your brain is battling you? Hi, everyone. I'm Owen Fitzpatrick. And in this particular video, I want to share with you one of the biggest things that gets in people's way when they want to make a change in their life. So often, we know in our head we want to do something. Maybe it's you want to get fit, right? Or you want to stop eating, the wrong kind of foods, or you want to go to bed early. Or maybe you want to stop engaging in a pattern that's causing you problems in your life, or in your, financial life, or your relationships, or your family. Maybe it's simply a negative feeling that you have towards, certain stimuli in the world. Or maybe you find yourself struggling with bad moods, or you struggle with feeling anxious or feeling worried. Whatever it is that you want to change, it's obvious that you want to change. So you have in your head, right, I would love to be different than I am. So why is it that we don't? What stops us from changing? Well, look, there's lots of reasons, right? But one of the most essential, critical areas that we need to look at is we need to look at what the brain actually does. Because one of the biggest problems that we face is trying to take control over the brain when the brain is pretty much its own being. If you study the work of Lisa Feldman Barrett, wonderful researcher and expert, neuroscientist, who wrote a book called How Emotions Are Made. And in it, she comes up with a different theory about how emotions work to the typical, idea of the triune brain, which basically means like there's the old brain, there's the ancient brain, the old brain, and then the new brain, right? And so for her, she said, look, that emotions don't just happen because the old brain overtakes the new brain. Instead, what happens is that our brains constantly are evaluating what's going on outside of us and what's going on inside of us, and using mental concepts to be able to figure out what emotion to feel, and where the energy needs to go in our body through what she calls a body budget. And in other words, our brains are constantly trying to predict what we need, and that's what then results in emotions. Now, without getting too deep into that, why is it relevant for what I'm talking about? Well, if you're trying to make a change, then sometimes your brain will try to stop you from making that change because it wants you to stay at the status quo. It likes stability. It likes certainty. It likes security. And it likes to stay in the same place, even if the change is more beneficial to your life overall. And so the most important thing that you need to start to do then is you need to start to recognize this desire for stability, this desire for security, and understand it. But it's important for you to get into a habit of training your brain to get used to doing new things. In other words, if you find yourself regularly doing something new, regularly experiencing something new, regularly exposing yourself to new ways of doing things, new ways to walk home from work. Well, when you're working in the office, not when you're working remotely. New ways to do things. When you start to train yourself to do that, one of the things that allows you to do is it gets your brain used to the changes, used to adopting, and also better at predicting more accurately what it needs to do in different situations or circumstances. So try to get yourself into a habit whereby even nothing to do with the particular change you want to make, but train yourself to start to embrace doing new things, not to get stuck in too many ruts. Because if your brain, it's a little bit like, physically, if you sit at home on the couch all day, not only does that make you, you know, overweight if you never exercise, but also sitting at home on the couch for long periods of time makes you less likely to want to go out, right? Because you're so used to the comfort. And so when you want to make a change, start playing around with doing lots of new things and pushing yourself to experience lots of new things. And that in turn will make you less likely to resist the change itself, because doing something new is more familiar. And that's what this is all about. It's about making the new familiar. When you make the new familiar in your life, then what happens is you'll start to find yourself making that change more possible and more open. And so often we tend to rationalize the change to ourselves. We tend to say, oh, well, this will be good for me because of X, Y, and Z. But again, you need to operate it in such a way that your brain is behind you. And that means you need to make it so that your brain is okay with the fact that this is something new. And the way to do that, like I said, is to start to get into the habit of exploring new things, getting your brain trained to get used to newness on a regular basis. This also helps with handling change as well, because the more new that you face, the more easy it is for you to handle change, which is ridiculously useful as well. So once again, in order for you to be able to make a long-term change, one of the best things you need to do is to get your brain on side with you. Get your brain, make it so your brain has got your back. It's not messing you up or screwing you over like sometimes our brains will do. And so when you start to push yourself to experience lots of new things, then you try to make a change, it's always going to be easier from that point of view. Now, the other factor to consider with regards to the brain is that we tend to be sometimes addicted to our emotions. This is an interesting bit of research that was done over the last few years, is they found out that a lot of times what tends to happen is when human beings, so they hooked up a number of human beings to machines that allowed them to press certain buttons, and the buttons that they would press would give them a different kind of feeling. And some of those feelings were positive feelings and some of them were negative. And so what they expected was when they saw the button that the human would press that gave them the positive feeling, they expected the humans to always press the positive ones. But the button that the humans pressed more than anything were not the more positive ones. They were the more active ones. In other words, things like, anger and things like, disgust and those kinds of sensations were the kinds of emotions that humans deliberately would trigger themselves as having. And so this was like, was all done by, operating on the brain and triggering those particular feelings in different parts of the brain. So what does this mean? What it means is that we have an awful addiction sometimes to a lot of bad feelings. And those bad feelings are maintained because we are addicted to them. And therefore, that stops us making the positive changes that we need to make in order to be able to achieve what we want in life. And so it's imperative for you to understand that and to break the addiction towards these negative experiences by deliberately and consciously choosing to start to move towards the kind of positive feelings that you want. So decide what kind of positive experiences do you want in your life? What kind of positive feelings do you want in your life? And start to move towards those positive feelings, towards those positive experiences. Because when you start to train yourself to do that, then it's easier to make the change that's in alignment with those positive feelings and experiences. It's that simple. Of course, it's not that simple to do, but it's definitely possible to do. The key is you have to start somewhere. And so what I recommend you do is start, plan, decide, and go for it. If you're interested in making changes in your life, not just by adjusting your brain, it would be remiss of me if I didn't mention two things. First of all, later on tonight, we have a very special free masterclass. And it's all about the 7 changes you need to make in 2021. And it's all about change and why change is difficult sometimes and how to overcome those difficulties to make sure that you build changes in. And especially nowadays in the post-COVID, hopefully soon, world, one of the most important changes you need to make. This is based upon my experience of working with tens of thousands of people across, more than 30 countries, helping people to be able to make changes in their life in all sorts of industries, in all sorts of different, areas. And I put together this free masterclass for 2 reasons. Number 1, to help you, to be able to guide you to make the changes you need to. And number 2, to be able to give you the opportunity to learn about my membership, my Changing Minds membership. This is something that I began in July of last year, in 2020. And it's something that I'm reopening now for about a week or so, right? So it's going to be open for just over a week. And then I'm going to close it down again for another few months. But this membership is something where every month I go live on Facebook, just in this private group where I train people for about 90 minutes or so on a different topic. Past topics were things like building a brilliant life, or building unstoppable confidence, or organizing your life effectively, or becoming more charismatic. All those different things, managing your emotions. So all of those are the kinds of topics we covered before. Next month, for instance, we have changing the stories of your life, how to retell new stories to yourself about yourself, because your stories build your reality. We're going to be looking then at resilience and anti-fragility and those kinds of things. We also have, as part of it, every 2 months, a new course is released, right? So this course the course that you get when you sign up would be the communication school, which is like a 2 or 3 hour program of, 7 or 6 different modules, bringing you through everything you need to know pretty much about communication, effective communication. And there's going to be a course like that dropped into the members area every 2 months or so. It's also a Facebook group as well. So look, this is a really affordable and very, very useful program that the members so far have been extremely positive about it. They found it extremely useful. You'll see some of the testimonials on the website. But if you are interested in being a member and getting regularly trained in personal development and self-improvement, and regularly trained in different topics, plus you'll get everything that we've already covered in terms of all the monthly Facebook Live sessions from last July, which means more than 10 hours of free content if you join. It's $47 a month. You'll find out more information in the link below. You can also join for the year and get a discount of 2 months off. But I would love to see you in there if you are serious about improving yourself and doing something on a regular basis, investing in yourself on a regular basis to master different areas of your life if that's of interest to you. So check out the link. There's the free masterclass link below in the description. And there's also the link to find out more about the monthly membership site. I hope to see you in there. And if not, I hope to at least see you on the masterclass. Take care. Be well. May the force, as always, continue to be with you. And I hope you found this useful. Take care.